5 weeks of drought and 1 dose of COVID-19 later, the Megacans are back in your ears with more German things. Germany's north-south rivalry gets reinflamed by a row over energy policy. There's the anniversary of the Rostock pogrom and how to fight money laundering with Christian Lindner. Sante!
Hello everyone, it's finally time for another Megan's Megacan. I'm Megan, I'm back in Berlin with Ex-Berliner magazine, and Konrad Werner, hello!
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay.
We haven't done this for ages, it feels really weird.
No, we've been away and then I had my maiden bout of
You did.
COVID.
Welcome to the club. At
Finally.
least whenever they, whatever we're all being chosen for or not chosen for, you and I will now be on the same team.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried about my friends who still not have it. I'm like,
I thought I was the last person.
is this the beginning? If this is the beginning of like a Netflix dystopian season,
Yeah,
I don't be pitted against Conrad.
I know. And then now I know that I will turn into a zombie
Yeah,
when
it's
it happens.
fine. It's all fine.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad actually. I mean, it was a weird mix of symptoms. It was a bit like I felt like I had like an alien inside me trying to get past my defenses, and it kept giving me different symptoms. So
That's so weird.
yeah. So the first day was very kind of flu-like. It was aches and pains.
Yeah.
And I knew I had it straight away because it felt exactly like when I had the vaccine. And then I tested and it was like positive straight away. And I was really sure I had it straight away. And then that was like a couple of days. And then it sort of turned into a very phlegmy, mucousy cold. It was mainly sneezy. I was much more sneezy on the third and fourth day. And then it was
like
just
a really, really horrible retelling of Genesis. Yeah. On the first day.
Yeah.
And on the fourth day, let there be mucus.
Yeah, it was the plagues of Moses or whatever.
That's Exodus, but fine.
Fine. Thank you. Yeah. And then the last bit was mainly just a tickly, dry cough.
Yeah.
But it was very separate phases. It wasn't all in
That
one
is
go.
interesting.
It kind of just moved through the phases. After that, it was, the fifth and sixth day was pretty much fine. And then, yeah, so I haven't really done a lot of...
I'm very glad that you're healthy again.
Yeah, tested negative yesterday and today.
Woo-hoo.
So I should be fine.
I'm back working in the virus factory. So,
good.
I mean, it's only a matter of time, really.
Have you heard what the new variant is called?
No.
Centaurus.
No. That's fucking brilliant. Sorry, obviously not brilliant, and people are still dying, and this is serious, but that's class.
That's the
Centaurus.
Yeah.
Why Centaurus? Why have we gone away from the Greek alphabet?
Oh, I don't know. I just
bored.
Bored of that. We're just going to try centaurs now.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Half man, half horse.
Shall we have some booze?
Yes.
I got us. I feel.
You're very far away. Hang on, I'll push the table over.
Well, I am far away. I think that's part of the reason I feel weird. But I'm also aware that I was teaching class today and 4 of them are out with the Rona. So okay. I had a mask on teaching them and everything, but they're still disgusting. Shout out to my lovely kids. Yeah, so I got us a Jack Daniel Lynchburg lemonade because, excellent. As you saw when I arrived, I was absolutely... We're having a sort of tropical typhoon, and I was cycling over and I was like, I'm going to beat the rain. I did not beat the rain. I've never seen rain like it, and I was like cycling and I had this poncho on and I'm still so... I feel like this was calling to me because it's like the closest thing to a hot whiskey. A crispy mega. When did I last have a mega? Was it... Might have been with you at our live show.
The live show, which was a lot of fun, I believe.
It was a lot of fun, you believe. You were there.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's delicious. The Lynchburg lemonade is class.
See how I go with this. This is gonna be my first drink in about 10 days, so...
I've already had a beer. I'm supposed to be going for a run this afternoon, and then I was like, it's raining so hard. To stay inside, I'll have a beer.
Okay, so...
You might not have had a drink for a while. We've been away. Yeah. I've had an almost entirely... I just haven't consumed any news content
Oh, right.
Since the last show that we did, which was in July. So
you had like you fasted from the news.
People keep saying to me, oh, you know the way, you know that thing with, I'm like, nope. No, I do not.
You've been on, that was your holiday from doing this, was you did like a news Lent.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, I'll ease you in then.
What are you going to ease me in with?
Something more light-hearted.
We'll see.
You have been on social media, though, because you sent me a picture of Markus Söder having, not himself, but his dinner.
I did, but now I can't remember how I came across that. It might be on Twitter. I am sort of occasionally on Twitter.
Well, he's in the news. Markus Söder, the state premier of Bavaria and leader of the CSU.
Long-time person we love to hate on Megan's Megacan.
Yeah.
I don't hate him personally.
But you do acknowledge that he has a good social media presence.
It's absolutely spot on. It's right in that sweet spot of, is it him, this weird boomer guy taking videos of himself on a boat on like the Bodensee? He's hashtag Söder ist, like as in... what he's eating.
Yeah, Söder isst.
Yeah.
Söder eats.
Is it him or is it some very savvy kind of like intern that he has? I don't know, but I
follows him around on holiday.
There was a really good one of him being like in a beer garden, I think around this time last year, coming up to like Oktoberfest, just sitting alone in this empty beer garden. He's like, come on down, there's plenty of room. And
you sent me a picture of some fried potatoes with a fried egg on top and the little bits of bacon, which I think is like a farmer's omelette or something, a
Bauernfrühstück.
A Bauernfrühstück type dinner.
Yeah,
it's a very popular
breakfast. Is it Frühstück? Yeah, it's delicious.
And
I love a Bratkartoffel.
Yeah, and he was
fucking good.
He was going hiking because he wrote like, this gives me strength for my hiking.
Yes.
Climbing around the Alps.
Yes.
Anyway,
before we get too much into it, what's he done now? Because he is also very conservative, rather awful politician who is bent on our destruction.
Well, yeah, he's causing a lot of stink because, we had Izzy on talking about, like the energy crisis.
Shit show, I think we're calling it. The clusterfuck.
Yeah. And part of that is because of Bavaria's refusal to change its wind farm rules.
Yes, so if I remember correctly, Habeck, our rom-com lead, is saying that like 2% of Germany is gonna have to be wind farms, which is actually going to be a lot of wind farms.
Yeah.
Because Germany is massive.
Yeah, and Bavaria is the largest state in Germany.
So they should have loads of fucking windmills. Get them up. A Mühle here, Mühle there. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But Söder's kind of like, no, it has to be how many kilometers away from every little tiny cute Dorf.
Yeah.
And then that's just like, well, then there's just Dorfs everywhere. So
what he did while we were away, it was in late July, he gave an interview to the Süddeutsche Zeitung in which he said, well, instead of going on at me about all these wind farm things, how about we do some more fracking in the north? Because there are...
Yes, because those means of getting energy are the same, aren't they, Marcus? One is beautiful and clean and sustainable, and the other one is entirely, from what I understand, damaging and dangerous.
Yeah, so fracking was banned in Germany in 2016.
Marcus!
But it happened a lot in the state of Lower Saxony, which is the long, flat state which stretches from the North Sea all the way to the East German border.
Niedersachsen goes to the North Sea?
Yeah, it's huge. It goes from the North Sea all the way to like Thüringen in the south. It goes around Hamburg and Bremen. It's a sort of,
that's right. Okay.
So it's a big flat. It's not particularly big,
and
largely
Niedersachsen
populated.
Is former West.
Yeah, it's West Germany.
But Sachsen is former
East.
And don't get me started on Saxon-Anhalt. I don't even know.
That's also East. So you got Saxon, Saxon-Anhalt, and Niedersachsen.
I'm so sorry.
Niedersachsen is the West German one.
This is so confusing.
And it's kind of big and flat. Yes. And it has a lot of wind farms because, especially on the North Sea coast, it's very windy.
They love them up there.
Yeah. So, and what they don't have anymore is fracking because they have natural gas reserves on the western border with France, but they stopped doing it. But Markus Söder said, well, why don't they just start fracking again and stop moaning about our wind farm rules? And the Lower Saxony state premier, Stefan Weil, who's of the SPD,
told him to get fucked.
Yeah, more or less.
Hashtag Söder, get fucked.
He wrote something like on Twitter, he was like, hasse die noch alle? Or something. He was all like, he was being funny. And geht's noch? He wrote geht's noch to Marcus.
How would you translate that? Like,
have you got a screw loose? I don't know. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right.
And then he wrote like, how about some finally doing wind farms in Bavaria? And Robert Habeck, our climate protection minister, stepped in, waded into this ding-dong between the north and the south, and there was an open day at all the ministries last Sunday. You know, you could go and last Sunday, it's over now, but last Sunday you could go to all the federal ministries around Berlin.
Off the press here, your number one politics podcast.
Yeah, so anyway, they had an open day, and Robert Habeck was in his ministry, and he was doing talks for people and everything. And someone brought this up about about Bavaria, and he said, "Well, the problem is."
Did he just put his head in his hands and go?
Yeah, because he's been going to Bavaria quite often to try and persuade Söder. And he said, "Well, the problem is that Bavaria is very good at certain renewable." Energy resources, like it has got more solar power farms.
Good.
Is that called a farm park? I don't know. Than any other state, but what it doesn't have is wind. And he said, like, the problem is in Bavaria. He said it in a sort of Habecky way. He said, like, well, the problem is that in Bavaria the sun doesn't shine at night either, and in Bavaria the days are shorter in January too. It's much funnier in German. Like
fucking German.
It's sort of passive aggressive.
Yes, passive aggressive. Like, you think you're so good, Bayern, but your Januaries are also shit. So build some wind farms.
Yeah, so he could put it like that.
Which is great, and there'd be loads of time to be petty and hilarious on Twitter if the planet wasn't literally on fucking fire.
And then CSU General Secretary Martin Huber shot back saying, Habeck hat keine Ahnung von Bayern. Habeck has no clue about Bavaria. It's been going on like this for the last couple of days, basically.
Great. I'm delighted. Thanks, lads. Thank you all for your service. But it's weird, like, we're definitely living in... It's the first time, I was talking to my older students. I was like, oh, what'd you get up to over the holidays? And all of them just said, oh, we were here and there. And... they're lucky enough to travel and they had a really great time. They were just like, it was so hot.
Yeah.
Everywhere they went was just hot.
And
and that's teenagers talking about it, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Did you fly across Northern Europe at all while you were away?
I did, but I didn't look out the window. Am I supposed to?
Well, if you look out the window, you'd see that the countryside was very brown. The whole countryside is just all brown, except for the bits that were being irrigated for farming, especially in the southern UK and northern France. It was a desert.
I think this was just so frustrating. It's like you actually can do something. Like, I've been very guilty, and rightly so. I've been like flying fucking loads, and I feel like now I'm gonna have to post-corona. I was like, I just got to see my family for mental health reasons, and now I'm okay. You need to dial it the fuck back. But it's also like, even if I want to take the train, it's consistently, even with the flight prices now, it's still so much more expensive. At least twice the price, if not 3 times the price, if you want to go long distance to London or whatever. These guys, they could actually...
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, even if I don't take that short flight, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. But they actually can make policy. I understand I'm saying very basic things, but then why are we just like posting pictures of our breakfasts and having Twitter beef?
Well, yeah. So what's happening now is that Germany has had to reopen one of its, or even 2 of its coal power stations.
Brilliant. Class.
It's partly to make up for the fact that we have to save gas because we're not getting as much gas from Russia anymore. And that was like really important, apparently. And also the other thing is, this is quite interesting, because of as part of the Energiewende, it was like the long-term plan to switch to renewables from Germany, and they were going to shut down the nuclear and then shut down the coal. Part of that was because in the south they don't have as much renewables because they don't have as much wind in the south. So they were going to build extra power lines between the north and the south so that the north could share more of its south. But the Bavarians turned this down because they said they realized that these new power lines were going to make the countryside look awful. And the CSU, which is in the government in Bavaria, we realized that these new power lines this new infrastructure that was going to be built as part of the Energiewende was really unpopular, so they turned it down. So now Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg, the two southern German states, are going to be most affected in the near future by power shortages, if there are going to be any power shortages.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to. Oh dear. And like, I do get the thing about the countryside, and we want to try and preserve the natural beauty of things, but I think we're now sort of like, what choice do we have?
Well, yeah. I mean,
I get that it's important, but I do think that if people are just, and this is what, to my mind, like leadership should be, this kind of thing of like, okay, Bavarian voters, I'm Markus Söder, you like me quite a lot, it seems. I know that this is not going to be great, but guys, this is kind of the only way. And I was on holiday in the Netherlands, and I hadn't spent a lot of time like on the North Sea coast before. And it is sort of, compared to like Irish beaches and stuff, like quite not built up, but not this sort of like unspoilt kind of cliffs and everything. It's different. And there's obviously a fuck ton of windmills everywhere. It's like a different kind of beauty once you can look out and you're seeing this beautiful dramatic sunset over the sea, and then there's like these wind farms in between you and the sunset.
Yeah.
And to some people that might look awful, but because it's clean, lovely, renewable energy coming from our planet, that's also nice in a way. I don't think it spoils it. It's a bit of a mental shift.
And the alternative is a lot worse.
It's like,
and
I don't
also
understand, like, what is Mark's like, oh, well, it'll spoil the countryside. And I was like, yeah, but the countryside is going to wither up and die.
Yeah.
It already is.
Oh, I know.
But he just thinks that, like, Niedersachsen should just frack for a load of gas and then they'll be fine. And Bayern will just use that.
Yeah, and also it's not a viable source of energy, because I talked to an expert and they said that even if they did start fracking tomorrow, it would take 3 to 5 years. I mean, it's a whole process.
We don't have time for that.
And it's really dangerous.
Winter is coming.
Do you know what fracking is?
Nope. I feel like I've learnt it several times and then forgotten it.
They pump water mixed with chemicals into the ground to crack up the bedrock and hope to release pockets of gas, and then they extract that gas.
I'm not a science person. That sounds like a terrible idea. None of that sounds good. Yeah,
it's literally like cracking the earth.
Jesus.
Anyway, do you want some more news?
No, but please continue.
So this was an anniversary this week of the Lichtenhagen pogrom of 1992. Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay, so this is like probably the worst neo-Nazi pogrom that happened since the war in Germany. It lasted for about 5 days, and it happened in Rostock, in the Lichtenhagen district of Rostock in northeastern Germany. It was pretty terrifying, and this is like obviously just a couple of years after the reunification of Germany. The East was very economically depressed. There was a kind of like a refugee crisis happened in this one place, this tower block in the north, where a lot of Sinti and Roma people were going to claim asylum. They were from Romania, and they weren't allowed to, and they had to camp, and they were camped for quite a long time. And then the locals neo-Nazis besieged it, and they came from all over the country, several hundred neo-Nazis, and basically besieged this tower block. Now, in this tower block were also living the so-called Vietnamese contract workers of East Germany, so who were in a kind of legal grey zone. So East Germany had a lot of Vietnamese contract, North Vietnamese, because it was like one of the countries that East Germany had like relations with, and they had these contract workers. They were like the equivalent of the guest workers. Yeah. They weren't allowed to have children. They were really repressed. They weren't allowed to, and they were all expected to go home. Anyway, but they didn't go home. They stayed. A lot of the people, and there are still the big Vietnamese communities in Germany, and some in the west and some in the east. And these were the ones in the east, and they were living in this tower block. And basically, what happened for about 5 days, these neo-Nazis literally besieged this tower block, throwing rocks, Molotov cocktails, bottles.
How were they allowed to do this?
Well, the police had to. It was just the
They
police.
were busy throwing rocks. I mean,
No, I mean the police did try to intervene, but not enough of them, and they were beaten back. I mean, there was like fights. A lot of police officers were injured as well, but at one point they basically had to retreat. Now, and then on the August the 24th, which was the third day of this rioting, it was like a week-long riot. And they actually set fire to this tower block.
Oh my God.
And there were about 100 Vietnamese people still inside. And who escaped. They had to escape onto the roof, and they were like, people were screaming from down below, "We're going to get you." I mean, it was a really dangerous situation.
I have never...
Yeah, so that was...
God, my ignorance is really shocking. I don't think I've ever heard of this happening.
Yeah, it was a terrible event, and also the way that the politicians reacted. People were very slow to react. The rhetoric.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. The fact that this went on for 5 days, yes, okay, they may have had a limited police presence in Rostock or whatever, but send in all those fuckers that arrive here on the 1st of May every year.
Yeah. And that just didn't happen. There was just they just weren't protected. God. And they were at one point, and also locals gathered, like about 3,000 locals gathered, and were keeping the police away, and were keeping the firefighters away, because there'd been so much anti-immigrant rhetoric also in the press amongst politicians leading up to that. I mean, it was a real a flare-up of xenophobic hatred in Germany, and it kind of changed a lot of people's ideas about what how Germany has kind of dealt with the far right since then. So that was an anniversary this week. President Steinmeier went there and gave a speech in which he kind of said, we have to do better, and politicians have to do better, and.
And so it was mainly sort of people from the Vietnamese community here and Sante and Roma, or
there were, and also a lot of the kind of there have never been any legal consequences of this. So like a few people were arrested, but everyone who was arrested, but the trials took literally years and years to go through. Like had to let a lot of people go.
How unsafe you would feel. Like that's your fucking home.
Yeah.
You've come here to work under shitty conditions, probably. And
there were 2 investigations into how the police handled it, and both those investigations were dropped eventually after about 10 years. So no, there literally been no proper legal consequences. Like the people who were arrested, even though they set fire to the building with people in it and were had attempted murder, but a lot of them were underage, the perpetrators, so they got like suspended sentences, and it just was not.
5 days.
Yeah, it went on for a while.
Oh God. You think you're not going to be, also my own kind of ignorance about a lot of Germany's, well, I think just history in general, but like, that's shocking. 1992, and the fact that I haven't heard about it either.
You probably must have done at some point.
I don't know. Like this, it's not ringing any.
It's usually because it was the 30th anniversary. There's a lot of stuff happens every 5 or 10 years. There's a big thing. When I say I've had
complete news, like, and I'm not on social media, so.
So there is something made of it. I spoke to a Vietnamese guy who's a theatre director now. I wrote an article about it this week, and he was saying that he was living in Hamburg at the time. He wasn't involved, but he was only about 7 years old. And his dad came into the room and basically taught him how to defend himself. He said, like, you need he grabbed him and he said, like, you have to free yourself. He wrote an article about this as well, about how it really affected him and the whole Vietnamese community, and how his dad brought home lengths of cable, like power cable, that they could use as clubs. And his dad was like, you have to be able to defend yourself because this country's not going to defend you, and
and like what a horrible I mean, you don't even need to say it, but like imagine the roles are reversed in that situation. Like that shit would be locked on by the police in a matter of okay.
So that happened 30 years ago this week. I'll post articles under the Facebook post.
Yeah.
And then our listeners can read about it.
Yeah.
other news?
Oh, please, let's keep going. Fucking hell.
So, Christian Lindner has also been on the old social medias this week. Pulling pints.
Oh, class. What's he doing that for?
Well, Christian Lindner's had a pretty busy summer. He got married on Sylt.
On Sylt, yes. I actually did read about this because I have a subscription to German Grazia magazine by accident, which I kind of love. And yeah,
wait,
it was supposed to be Italy, I think. I think he married an Italian woman, did he?
I don't know. And, you know more about this than me.
Yeah,
Is
they
she
were
Italian?
showing all this hotel and the people who came. Because of security concerns, their plans for Italy came to nothing. And so they were saying, like, all of these people were there. He got married.
Oh.
Congrats.
Yeah, and Friedrich Merz flew there in his private jet, which he flew himself because he's a pilot and he's very rich.
Great.
Just a gathering of all our favourite conservative politicians.
Great. Oh, I do think there was someone who tried to protest and get in. Like, I think Grazia reported it as like some kind of punk anarchist person, but it didn't like go very far.
Oh. Well, he's also been on the social medias because he was pictured pulling pints this week, and they were very bad pints.
You've shown me the picture. It's just like him in an apron at like a Zapfhahn, the beer tap, just surrounded by about 10 poorly poured, like full glasses of foam and everything. Why is he there? What's happening? Just
I don't know. Like, you know, like politicians do that kind of thing, don't they? It's like there's a lot of pictures of Merkel cutting döners as well. Slicing döners. Yeah, she's always slicing döners. Well, she's always slicing döners. she was always doing pictures in döner shops.
I mean, I think
there's one famous
if anything, we're sort of slowly learning with all the things. It's just like, oh, by the way, the CDU have done, and obviously, yes, it's like the GroKo, but like they've done nothing in 16 years. Like nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing's been done.
No.
It's just been like what about the army? Nah. What about like just nothing? Education. So she's just been slicing döner. That's good to know.
Yeah, on that one, the one on Wilhelmstrasse. Do you know that Dönerladen there?
Does she only live on Wilhelmstrasse? No, I don't know that Dönerladen. I live in Neukölln. I want a döner. I'm not going to fucking miss her.
Well, anyway, there's a picture of her up in that Dönerladen slicing a döner there. It doesn't matter. I don't know why I got onto this.
Anyway,
the point is,
what else has Christian Lindner been in the news for?
He has been fighting money laundering.
Has he? Bollocks. Only the bad kind of money laundering, as in people who do it who are not like white and...
Well, did you know that Germany is considered a money laundering paradise?
No. Why? Why?
Because, well, can you have a guess? So what is one thing that Germans like to do when they're paying for things?
Cash.
Exactly. In Germany...
Quiche, as my brothers call it.
In Germany, you can still pay for real estate in cash. You can buy a flat in cash.
Sometimes you have to pay cash.
Well, yeah.
Everywhere. It's wild.
But buy a whole flat... Like
That's insane.
Yeah, so there's no law against doing that.
And considering how much flats are going for these days, like, who has that just in cash?
Criminals, usually. And apparently, and this is true of quite a lot of different sectors, not only property, but like financial sectors, you can still pay for a lot of things with cash in Germany. Other European countries have rules about you can't buy things for more than 5,000 euros, things like that, but not Germany. And that is significant because Germany is the fourth biggest economy in the world and the biggest in Europe. And it's a place that people like to invest in. So that means that it's a money laundering paradise, according to...
What's Chris going to do about it? Chrissy Lind.
He's setting up a new federal financial crime agency.
Oh, brilliant, yeah. Those always work really well, don't they?
And he's going to do a lot more digitalization.
Oh, they fucking love the term digitalization, the FDP, don't they?
Yeah.
Lovely.
So he said, like, we're going to do more digitalization, and that is going to definitely solve the problem of money laundering. Now, the problem is with this, so I was talking to an expert about it, and he said this is all very well, but it doesn't, like, the real problem is that they don't. We have this federal system in Germany, so the states do some things, and the federal government has other duties, and the states are in charge of criminal prosecution of financial crime, and the federal government is in charge of creating preventative measures. And he said that all that Christian Lindner's plan is going to do is bundle all of the federal powers without helping the states anymore with prosecuting financial crime, and all the financial crime departments in all the different states are massively underfunded, and also, like, you can't earn very much money. So if you're a really good financial crime investigator in Germany, you're not going to go and work for the state. You're going to go and work for a bank, because they pay you 3 or 4 times as much for these things. You can work in the compliance department in a bank, and you'll get loads more money than if you work for the state. So he said that none of Christian Lindner's plans address any of that. All he's saying, like, is it just sounds good. It's just a press release, and it sounds good, and it sounds like he's doing something, but it's not going to address the underlying structural issue of the kind of the unifying the powers between the states and the federal government, and also the wage imbalance between the public and private sector.
Brilliant.
So that's it. I summed up that. You don't have to read my article now.
I'll read it, but...
which is obviously kind of a bit more complicated, but it doesn't matter because it's not that really. It's just talk, you know. Like, a lot of this is what happens with governments. They come up with a plan, and they said we're going to do this and this, and they give you really nice bullet points, which journalists love because they can't be bothered to read everything.
Yeah.
And they go like, "Oh, that's good. I know how to do it. I've only got 2 hours to write this article anyway, so I'll write all that down. Sounds good." And then you ask an expert, and they go, "Yeah, but this isn't, like, it's just a press release. It doesn't mean anything."
Yeah, that's how work for this and this reason. That's
how the media works.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, how's your Megacan?
Brilliant. I'm flying here. I'm enjoying it very much.
I'm really quite drunk. I mean, it is only 6:15.
Yeah.
I'm having my second drink of the day.
Yeah.
Which is probably bad, but it's also raining, so what am I supposed to do?
Been other news stories. Do you want to hear?
Yeah, if they're not total shit. Like, I just feel like do you know what? In a way, it's been oddly nice because I feel like I've learnt some new things about Germany. Which,
well,
but all of them are terrible.
Merkel and the donors thing, or?
No, the Rostock thing, okay. Christian Lindner, the money laundering cap. Like, obviously it's logical when you think of how much cash is, like, just sloshing around. Sloshing around. That's quite hard to say when you're drunk, even though you think it would be easy. Yeah. Germany is such a fucking weird place. I love living here. I really do. It's been very good to me. But I wonder now, I've been here for like 10 years in total. I did that big German exam. So now I'm at the point where I just, like, understand all the German. I can read all the newspaper articles, like, all of it.
Yeah.
There might be a few things I don't understand if it's really complex, but I get it. I've, like, leveled up in my German, but it's like you level up, and it's like, then you go up, like, a level of security clearance. And they're like, oh, well, you can learn this all now. I'm like, no. And I think back to before we started this, I was just a little party girl running around thinking, Germany's fine. Look how fucked Northern Ireland is. And Northern Ireland is still fucked. But I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
What else is in the news? What are you talking to me about? It's not on my list. This is surprise.
This is bonus news. Have you heard about Patricia Schlesinger and the Airbnb scandal?
Airbnb? What? Patricia?
Not Airbnb. RBB.
Oh.
Airbnb. I did it. Sorry, it was my fault. I did it in half German.
Is he mispronounced Airbnb? Because that's...
No, sorry.
I think my mum, someone I know in my family mispronounces Airbnb all the time.
Airbnb. How do you say it in Irish? I don't know.
Like, no, it's fine. What is Airbnb again? Is it one of the state? It's the radio, is it?
Yeah, it's the public broadcaster of Berlin-Brandenburg. Rundfunk Berlin-Brandenburg.
Okay.
And the head of it has just been sacked because she was claiming a lot of stuff on expenses that she was not supposed to, including private meals in her house. She just she had put on.
I shouldn't laugh because obviously it's our public money and it's really shitty, and particularly at a time when people are my gas bills are now getting to the stage where I don't know if I can, it's having a serious impact. And if I were struggling with a small family or whatever, I don't know what the fuck I would do. But what has this bitch been trying to get away with?
So she had
caught.
So she had catering in her house. So because she could just afford it, she could just have she'd invite someone.
Of course she could afford it. We were paying for it, Conrad.
I know. Because she's the head of Airbnb, which is a massive job. It's a really big journalism job. So
head of Radio 4 or something, or NPR or something. Would that be?
Well, it's just the regional one.
Oh, it's just the regional one.
We don't really have it in the UK and Ireland. The regional. We don't have this whole system of different regional public broadcasters. No. Did you know? I learned this week. I didn't know this. ARD is actually just a collection of state public broadcasters,
really?
Regional level public broadcasters. ZDF is national, but ARD is technically organised by the states. So they just
kind of pick the highlights of what other states are showing, or what?
No, they pay for it and organise it all together. So it's administered at state level, even though it's a national TV channel. It's administered at state level.
I'm too drunk to understand that.
But anyway, it doesn't really matter.
And so what's Patricia been up to?
So
Trish?
Yeah, well, there was
the catering in her house, but maybe it was a business dinner?
Well, that's what she said. But it wasn't. And then the other thing was her husband is the head of a consultancy firm, a big consultancy firm.
Aren't they always? I don't even know what consultancy firms do. Continue.
And he happened to get a really lucrative contract at RBB.
Oh, fuck off.
And so, anyway, she got caught and she's now been sacked. And it's caused a lot of more scrutiny. Like the AfD, the far-right party, has had a field day with this because it proves that, because they always want to ban public broadcasters and the license fee. They always want to ban the license fee.
Those lads are awful, by the way. Don't vote for them.
Yeah, so... and then there was also another scandal, separate scandal with NDR, which is the northern German
I know them
because
they're the one that put out the Christian Lindner podcast, my beloved, during the pandemic, which is still ongoing, obviously, as evidenced by your week.
And an internal report from them came out with a lot of journalists complaining that they had been shut down from asking critical questions about the Schleswig-Holstein government. And apparently the head of the NDR intervened when one journalist wanted to ask some critical questions about a certain scandal. And it kind of it sounded a bit like the NDR was protecting the CDU government of Schleswig-Holstein.
So that was a bit of a scandal. Is it?
No, it's also against the principles of public broadcasting because you have to have journalistic independence. It's kind of important.
No shit.
So,
wow.
So the AfD also had a field day with that too. So they've been the public broadcasters have been in a bit of a tight spot.
Okay, so we have environmental disaster, money laundering on a apparently 4th in the world scale, or maybe 1st in the world. Who knows? A horrendous, horrible racist attack which went unprosecuted 30 years ago, which doesn't even register in the public consciousness enough for me to have found out about it, and I'm not that ignorant anymore. Like I feel like if it was mentioned more. We don't have freedom of press. Great. I feel so excited we're doing this again. Yes.
Well, I think that's everything.
Well, I'm very excited to see you again.
I'm very happy that you're here too.
Maybe someone would like to suggest an alternative format for the podcast. Like, we can still drink, but we just talk about something else.
We could do like gardener's question time.
Absolutely.
I was in
just gardening. I don't know anything about gardening, obviously, but we're both kind of into baking now. We could do that.
We could do baking. We could exchange baking tips.
Yeah, let's just
for 40 minutes.
Sod this. Like, it's not. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe there'll be some good news. Do you think we'll pull through?
Who do you mean?
Like humanity.
Who's we?
Humanity. All of us.
Well, we'll see.
I just feel like we're reaching a bit of a like, this is kind of it point, like the situation in the States, and are we going to have Liz Truss? Prime Minister Liz Truss? I mean, who knows? But I think, the COVID crisis in many ways gave me faith in people's sort of resilience and ability to do the right thing under pressure, apart from a few assholes. So...
You never know.
Yeah, at least now,
We'll
I
see.
think anticipation is the worst. Like, the anxiety before the crisis really begins is, like, we've got a fucking war.
Well, yeah. I think it'll be fine.
As long as they keep making Megacans.
I mean, if we don't make it, someone else will, so I think it'll be okay one way or another.
Yeah. We might as well just sort of enjoy it, have some megas, have some laughs, try and vote the right way if you can.
Good. And on that note...
it's very nice to be back. Thank you all very, very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll hopefully...
We'll be back, hopefully, in 2 weeks' time, if there isn't some kind of nuclear disaster.
Who the fuck knows?
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.